Good morning. It's Sunday, a bank holiday weekend, and in the last hour, a deal has been signed in Brussels by the Canadian Prime Minister, Trudeau, and the President of the European Council, Donald Tusk, and the Head of the European Commission, Jean-Paul Juncker. If you have been following my posts on Facebook for the last couple of weeks, you will know that I'm rather passionate about this issue of Ceta, which is a trade agreement between the EU and Canada. Now, it really is much more than a trade agreement. The most dangerous aspect of it is the ISDM, Investor State Dispute Mechanism. And under this, multinational corporations will have the power to sue sovereign governments. Now, this is how it works. If, like Argentina, you're tied into one of these ISDMs, multinational corporations have the power to sue you if you introduce laws or legislation that will compromise your profits. So, how does it work? Last year, in 2015, the Argentinian government decided that they were going to cap the price of water for its poor. The private water companies operating in Argentina took the Argentinian government to this ISDM court, and they were awarded $450 million in compensation. So here we have a poor developing country having to hand over $450 million in compensation to multinational corporations. The Irish government are going to bring in a sugar tax. If we are tied into this Ceta deal, any companies operating in Ireland with a Canadian connection will now be able to sue the Irish government for loss of profits. Enda Kenny has been a passionate advocate of this deal, and he signed it on our behalf last Friday week in Brussels. The deal was delayed because of Belgium. It's a democracy, and one of its regional parliaments, Wallonia, refused to ratify the deal. So the Belgian Prime Minister was not in a position to ratify it in Brussels. That impasse was overcome in the last week, and the Belgian Prime Minister then signed up on Friday last. I've been in contact with Enda Kenny, and if you've been following my Facebook posts, you'll know that I had a conversation with him last Sunday morning, and despite much information that he gave me, he refused to address the issue of the ISDM. I reminded him that in ratifying the deal on Ireland's behalf, that he is actually signing away our sovereignty. And I'm not making this up. 101 professors of law from all across the EU have written a paper, including Professor Murphy from NUIG. And they state that Ceta, this trade deal, compromises European law. And yet, Enda Kenny, along with the 27 other heads of state, are intent on pushing through this toxic trade deal. No debate has been allowed in the Dáil. 2 weeks ago, the Senate passed a motion which was introduced by Senator Higgins from the Labour Party, and a motion stating that the government should not ratify this deal. And yet, Enda Kenny, even though the Senate does not give him his approval, went ahead and ratified it on our behalf. A number of organisations in Ireland, including the IFA, the ICSA, trade unions, groups representing small and medium-sized businesses, and a number of chefs, including Darina Allen from Ballymaloo, have been campaigning for the last year, saying that Ireland should not ratify this deal. It is harmful for environment, it's harmful for our health, it's harmful for food quality, it's going to have a huge impact on labour relations and conditions of employment. And yet the Fine Gael government have been intent on going ahead with this deal. To add insult to injury, the MEP for Munster, Sean Kelly, on his webpage, if you look it up, actually is making a case that this investor court be located in Ireland. Now, what is this investor state dispute mechanism? It's a three-man court that will be above and beyond sovereign governments, and it will be them that will arbitrate between governments and multinationals, and they do not have to uphold the rule of law that is taking place in any country. So this ISDM mechanism is actually contrary to the Constitution of Ireland. We'll just take another sector that's going to be deeply affected if this trade deal goes through, and that's farming. A recent report by Tagisk shows that the average income for beef farmers in Ireland is just over €10,000 per annum. And yet, this deal now gives Canada the right to flood the European market with 50,000 tonnes of Canadian beef. Beef in Canada is produced in a different way than beef here in Europe. It's subject to very strict rules, regulations. In Canada, they're able to produce beef at €250 a kilo. And now Irish beef, which is currently around $3.65 a kilo, will have to compete with this cheap Canadian beef. And it's going to be the nail in the coffin for Irish beef farmers. Oh, it just pains me to think that Enda Kenny travelled to Brussels to ratify a deal that's going to place all future governments of Ireland in a straitjacket. Each and every time from now on, going forward, that the government sits down to write up legislation, they will have to be mindful of the fact that they could be subject to a compensation claim from a multinational company operating in this country. I have pointed this out to him, and to no avail. I really believe that since the Act of Union in 1800, there never has been such a cessation of sovereign power as there has been the day that Enda Kenny ratified that deal on our behalf. It has taken a lot out of me actually to make the decision to go on Facebook Live. It's not something that I've wanted to do, but I'm actually doing this morning for the sake of my children, my grandchildren, and my great-grandchildren. I'm not happy about the type of Ireland that they're going to have to grow up in. And I am making a passionate appeal to you to wake up out of your slumber and realise what's happening in this country. It's not too late. It is not too late. Before this deal can finally go through, it has to go through Dáil Éireann. And I'm making a passionate appeal to you this morning to go and contact your local TD and tell them that you do not want them to vote in favour of this deal. Enda Kenny has promised me in his text message that this will have to go before the Dáil and there will be a vote on it. So there is hope. The government is a minority government. It's depending on the support of 5 independents, and it is depending on the support of Fianna Fáil. So if you are a Fianna Fáil supporter or a supporter of an independent TD like Box and Mourne, please make contact with them by Facebook, by email, by phone, or by going along to the constituency clinic this week. Sorry, I got cut off there by a phone call. So I'm making this appeal to you. Please wake up out of your slumber and contact your local TD. And if you're a member of the IFA, the ICSA, or any farm organisation, now is the time to have your voice heard. Thanks very much for listening, and please, for the sake of your children and grandchildren, wake up out of your slumber and contact your local TD. Thank you.